Hey, what's going on, guys? It is time. It is time to talk about what happens when you achieve your goals, which is going to happen. So, this video is all about looking into the future and knowing that you're going to be there and then knowing exactly what to do once you get there. Okay? This is what's so unique about our program. This is lifelong transformation with the ability to maintain all of the great success that you had on the 5 and 1 program or whichever program you decided to use to drop your body fat down and put you into this position today where you're now looking to add things back in. Okay? So let's go over this, and there's going to be multiple videos on this again because this is a complex topic, and we're not going to get into all of the additional things like when to add additional protein if you're working out, or how to basically break it down from week to week by food choices. But I want to give you some general concepts today so that you can at least get the ball rolling, because what we're going to find is what we're talking about with the general population, where you might fit in just fine. It may be different for exercisers, like intense exercisers, and it may be different for people who have like autoimmune or gastrointestinal issues and that kind of thing. So, or allergies and allergens and bad food responses. So, we'll talk about what that means on this because that's going to come up. Okay? So, let's just get it out of the way right away. So, let's talk about, first of all, determining your total energy expenditure. Okay? Now, you have become a smaller version of what you were before, and a much leaner and a much healthier version than you were before. So, just from the sake of total energy expenditure, I'm not sure if you knew this, but if you were 200 pounds and we just went with a non exercising sedentary total energy expenditure, you'd be burning 2,200 calories a day. Okay, if you are 150, you're gonna burn 1,650, so 1,650 calories. Now that's significant because we don't need to eat to build or to fuel tissue that no longer exists. Okay, so by becoming smaller, you have decreased the amount of calories that you're going to be able to eat. Okay, but hear me out on this because we know that the amount of calories we were eating before did not allow us to have the results that we wanted. So we may be able to build back up to a really high level, but I'm going to show you how you might be able to do that if you decide that's part of your goal. Okay, so with that being said, I'm always going to say set your total energy expenditure with a sedentary number. And the reason why is because we already know all Americans, according to the studies, overestimate or what's the word I'm looking for? They over exaggerate their workout intensity by 30%. Okay, so and this is like kind of doing the 5 and 1, I'm eating healthy. Like, what does that mean? It's like we want to be able to actually put a number to it and put a system to it so that you can have the best and most optimal chance of success. Okay, so I'm going to say 11, even if you're out there exercising already, because you're coming off of an extreme low calorie food option. So there's no point of jacking up your TEE just based on some numbers, because that's going to probably create some challenges. Okay, so if we can just go with the times 11, then we have the first initial building block, and then we can just get to that point and then make adjustments just like we're doing with the transition, and just keep those adjustments happening. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So let me show you what that means. So first of all, we'd figure out total energy expenditure. If we go with me, let's just say 160. My calorie need, or what I'm expected to burn, is 1760. 1760 is what I would be expected to burn at my weight. Okay, without adding exercise into it. If I'm doing 5 and 1 right now, then I'm doing 1,050 with the macros that we talked about before. And that's where I'm at right now. So now I'm transitioning. Now, if I've been adding something in addition to this, then we have to account for it. Okay. What that means is if you're doing a dirty 5 and 1, and you're already at 1,500, okay, and your progress has slowed down a little bit, you're not seeing that rapid body fat reduction any longer. You made a few adjustments here and there already, but we're gonna take it up to 1,750. that really is only a difference of 260 calories. Okay, so that may not get you overly excited. And technically, we would want to add those 260 calories over the course of 4 weeks. Okay, with this slim amount of difference, I would say you wouldn't necessarily need to do that. You could probably just jump right into 1760 if you knew you were at a spot where you wanted to maintain. Okay? So, but let's say you have been following the program perfect. Good for you. That's what you want to do. All right, so we're 1,050. The difference between 1,760 and 1,050 is 710 calories. Now, I would want to take the next 4 weeks to gradually build up into that 710 surplus, and that's going to be divided by 4. So 710 divided by 4 is going to give me 178. Confirm that. 178. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, I'm adding 178 calories. So that's 1228. I'm adding 178 calories. The next week, 1408. I'm adding 178 calories. The next week, 1584. And then, of course, 1760. Okay. So that's gradually how we see. Now, here's what's so awesome about that. And here's why, if you're already tracking your macros and tracking your numbers, then it's a really simple add. You don't want to overcomplicate the process, but in this case, it's super important. Wouldn't you agree? If you haven't been tracking already, I would start to get a very good idea of what you're tracking at. So do your MyFitnessPal, do your .fit planner, do whatever, do it by paper if you need to. But that's going to be a really important thing to nail down. Otherwise, we're guessing. So if there's a chance of like a bigger up and down challenge, it's going to be because somebody fishtailed one direction and then they're like, oh, dang, I'm not where I want to be any longer. Okay, it's because they went from here and they weren't thinking about the longevity of eating healthy for a lifetime, and they jumped right into all-you-can-eat buffet or at Benihana's or whatever, right? So if that's the case, then we haven't established some of the emotional connections with what our true goals are and the progress that we want to see. So that's something we have to go back and we have to readdress that, because we never once said that once you get done eating, you're going to be able to go back to eating Dairy Queen every single day. Well, you could. I mean, if you want to fit it in, you could fit it in. But chances are what I'm saying here is above and beyond your normal daily calorie need. Okay? So if we just jump right back into all you can eat anything, we're going to be back in the position we were in before. Okay? So, with that being said, we have now added calories every week. So the big question comes next, which is, what do we want to add for our additional calories? So there could be an emotional, psychological draw to this, and that's something that you'll have to address. Now, if you're a high-performance athlete, I may make other recommendations based on the what you're going to add. If you have intestinal issues or digestive issues, or you have some autoimmune disorders or even allergens and bad responses to food, how you do this may be completely different than somebody who is absolutely completely healthy. And you may not know that until you start to add things in and they don't serve you well. Okay? So, for example, Habits of Health is going to suggest that the first option is vegetables, which makes perfect sense. So you're going to add 178 additional calories coming from vegetables, scattered throughout the day if you'd like to. Add it into your I wouldn't necessarily say above and beyond your lean and green. You could add it to your lean and green, but maybe now you're going to add something for lunch. Maybe this would be snacks throughout the day, but you could add the 178 calories coming from vegetables at that point. Okay? That's week number 1. Week number 2, you have the option to introduce fruit. Now, this one I'm a little bit torn on, because depending on, like, if you're just emotionally craving, like, I just need some fruit, then this could be a great addition. 178 calories. Like, if you place this appropriately around workouts or later in the evening, if it doesn't trigger an appetite response, then that's going to be okay. But we have to keep in mind, now we're probably getting into a zone. If you had a hard time staying in a fat burn zone, now we are definitely getting into a spot where those additional calories coming from carbohydrates are probably going to take you out of the fat burn state. And what we know about the fat burn state is we have the less hunger, the energy, the mental clarity, the sustained energy, so we don't feel like we're attached to the food every couple of minutes, that kind of thing. But then again, this might have been your long-term goal, is how do I introduce carbs back in? Because like the other video that we talked about, you may want to have a less strict format to follow so that you can have a cupcake at your daughter's birthday party or whatever, right? So those are and you could do that anyway. It's just, just the response to the fat burn is just different. I mean, you guys all know that. Okay, so the fruit would be the second week option. The third week option would be to add dairy. And here again, some of you guys are already saying, I don't do dairy. What do I do in that case, right? So the bottom line is we're really just talking about adding additional calories. Now this is for those people who want to start introducing a wider variety of food back in. They want to support their long game, so they're going to be like, I'm going to be eating these foods in the future, so now I'm just going to incorporate them in now. So that's an important thing to know. But again, now we get into number 4, which is like your whole grains. And personally for me, whole grains I do not respond real well with, unless it's just rice, maybe quinoa, but I've got to be careful with that because it's not always most ideal for my digestive system, okay, as is dairy. So we got to take a look at all of those things and see what works best for you. Now, if I'm in a fat burn high performance, I'm actually going to increase calories coming from fat first, okay, provided that I've covered my bases with my protein and or I'm using the Amino Boost XXL, in which case I'm already protein protected. Okay, so I may elect, if I'm working out pretty extensively, that those 178 calories are going to come from healthy fats. Now the challenge with that is that we're talking about eating for athletic performance and eating to stay in a fat burn in an elevated calorie response. That's different than the desire to just eat like more average Americans, okay? If your goal is to be more average, then you're probably going to continue down that route. That's just a weird thing for me to say because the average American right now is not healthy. So, we're gonna need to step it up and recreate what it is to be a healthy American. Okay. So, with that in mind, I might say here first, and then if there's an opportunity for more protein, and if there's a deficit in the protein because of lean body mass, height, weight, that kind of thing, then I might add the protein in. Okay. Knowing that this could also change the parameters of fat burn, but that's probably going to be okay for this person at this time because once you take the sting out, then you feel like you can do this forever, right? You no longer feel restricted and you literally are like, man, I'm doing 1,400 calories today. I remember the days when I was doing 1,000. This is awesome, okay? What it isn't though, it is not a blooming onion at Outback Steakhouse awesome, okay? That is something that will take you back the other direction pretty quickly just from a calorie standpoint, okay? So keep that in mind. So protein might be my next option, or maybe it's protein plus fat combination. And then after that, I may, and I have some vegetable sensitivities as well, so this is just my program. How I would customize my program. How you do it is going to be completely different, but as long as these parameters are okay, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be able to transition into a very good eating plan and be able to maintain your lost body fat, okay? Okay, so over here, maybe I start introducing vegetables back in, or maybe I start getting into some of those whole grains as long as I can keep them in whole grains and maybe like yams. That would be a better response for me. Yams, and again, I said the rice. But here again, now if I don't want to be out of fat burn, I may not even go down that path. I might just be looking at maximizing my protein grams for my muscle and then increasing my fat calories for my performance endurance plan. Okay? What else? I mean, those are the big things. Okay? Does that make sense? So again, like I would hesitate. Like if you are a dialed in person and this is something that is really important to you, is to be able to stick your landing on this program and start building up so you can learn your body how it responds to certain things, how many calories you're really going to be able to work with, then this is going to be an amazing thing. And here's what might happen too. Maybe you get to week 4 and you add those 178 calories in and you actually don't feel any better and you are not seeing a favorable response either on the scale, or it might be an unfavorable response. You may choose that this is no longer going to be an option for you, and you just found out that your personal total energy expenditure is 1584 because the 1760 was not offering any additional benefits, and you may have been starting to see some things on the scale slip in the other direction. Okay, but keep in mind, scale is not your most important measurement test of success. That's still going to be body composition and measurement. So keep those things in mind. Now, what's critically important to understand, and this is why I tell people, you may want to watch the Habits of Health video that is entitled "Are you emotional, like fat burn, high performance fat burn and exercise? Are you emotionally ready to do it?" Because coming out of fat burn, you're going to initially see, right away, see a 5-pound increase. We've talked about it all the time in all the other videos. Anywhere between 2 to 6 pounds because of the glycogen and the water retention. Dr. Anderson talks about this in Habits of Health. So you're going to see that increase. So I oftentimes tell my clients who have been striving for a goal of, let's say, 130 for the last year, that if they want to stick that landing, that we may drop down to 125. So that when we start bringing carbohydrates back in, they're at their perfect 130 or the perceived perfect 130. Okay? If they hit 130 for 2 minutes and we bring carbs back in, they're going to immediately be 135, and then that causes a fishtail the other direction because it's like, oh my gosh, I've been working the whole year and I'm already going up in weight. I knew this wasn't going to work, right? We know it works. That's not going to be the thing that ever comes out of your mouth. So now you go back the other direction and fix it, okay? All right, where are we at? So the 5 pounds increase. Then keep this in mind. If your goal is to get buff, to develop some muscle definition and that kind of thing, and your body fat percentage now is dropping down or is pretty low, then you're going to see that increase of those 5 pounds, for example. And then as you increase lean body mass, you could probably expect a 1/4 pound a week, 1/2 pound a month, depending on your calorie surplus and your activity. And actually your amino boost can help develop some of the muscle gains even in a calorie deficit. So you're going to start to see that. So now you're 7 pounds heavier than what you initially wanted to end up at. So those are all emotional, psychological things. Now the funny thing is you're going to look leaner, you're going to be more healthy, and you are actually now increasing your metabolic rate to be able to have additional calories above and beyond that. Okay, so if that's the case, our 1760 may not be enough any longer, and now we're going to up it another, let's say 178 to 200 calories or whatever amount we start to work with above and beyond that. So if you have muscle gain goals, performance gain goals, we're going to give you a calorie surplus that's going to support that activity, and then now you might be taking in 2,400 calories and maintaining your body weight because your lifestyle and your habits of exercise and motion and activity has allowed you to create that for yourself. Okay? We're going to boil this all down, hopefully a little, so if you have questions, I would love you to ask questions so that we can fine tune it, because I can't prepare people for everything that's going to happen, but I wanted to at least give you a snapshot overview of that. Once you hit your goals, there are amazing things coming your way to make sure that you can stay healthy for as long as you choose to. All right? Make it a great day, guys.